Okay. So let's get familiar or more familiar with the Joomla 4 API, specifically creating some articles during the API, updating the articles. But most importantly, my goal right now is to get the rest of the schema that's missing from the JSON, or not JSON, from the JSON schema from the docs. All right, so I'm going to go back. Let's open up the docs of Joomla's API. Let's go. Now, if you haven't already checked out the Joomla API, please go ahead and do so. You can use this URL here, or just Google it or go to the Joomla website. But nonetheless, so in Joomla 4 specifically, that's what we're working with. On our current project, we are building a tool, or we're building a product that which will create pages or have um, pages that a user will go and be able to just see really quick and really easy. But the pages are not going to be made manually, and they're not like an art, like a magazine or something. So what we need to do is be able to create these articles or these pages really easily and quickly. So that means we need to utilize the API, or we need to use them quickly. And Joomla is the best option, I think, right now. I don't have the box here to do that. So, being that Joomla 4 has an API now, a web services API, we're able to create articles and do a bunch of other things with the API. So, all we care about right now is just making articles. So that's what we're going to focus on. That's going to be our example. Now, um, this whole video, or possibly series of videos, is going to be focusing on these few things, calling it the Great J4 API Hunt. Whereas we're going to be unearthing the schema to be able to create articles and update articles. Now, it's not unavailable as of right now. You can see right here um, in the documentation that there is obviously a schema already there. But if you have any familiarity or experience with Joomla, you know that there's way more variables than what is listed here for creating an article. And then here, when it comes to updating an article, it really only shows you two of the variables or two of the parameters that you can update. Now, what we're going to be figuring out is if we can even update more of the different parameters as part of an article. All right, as you can see, we only have about 5 or 6. We got the title, the alias, the category, the language, meta description, meta keys, and the article text, which is what we type in the header. So now, if I go over to actual Joomla and I go and open up an article, let's just this is a module. I need to get to articles. If I go and open up an article, we're going to see all the different parameters that are normally there. All right. So let's open that up. You see everything is in all of these tabs. How do we do that? What does it look like? What is it called? Does it have the same exact name? Adding the category, that's there, but making it featured, the access levels, the tags, the note, and the version note, all of those things. None of that is made clear in the Joomla documentation. So if you see this video, that means that we probably succeeded. So join us on this trip. Now, these are all the native tabs and parameters that are in Joomla stock. But then Joomla, of course, offers the wonderful and very powerful feature of custom fields. So with now, can we update custom fields? Can we add custom fields by way of the API? I would think yes, right? So that's what we're figuring out. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to create some groups, some field groups. Then we're going to create an item. I'm sorry, not item. We're going to then create custom fields, at least one of each custom field. We're going to make those in the different groups as well. And then we're going to fill in every single option we can fill in or affect or adjust or whichever with an article that uses these custom fields. And then from there, we're going to go over and see what that looks like, what the schema looks like when everything is used. So we can then map out what all of those variables look like, or um, in the schema, so that when we want to do this in the future, we know what we're doing, and maybe what we come up with can help update the documentation on the official Joomla site. But making this resource for my team, and then just going to share it with whoever else might need it. So I already have, say, Postman open over here. You've seen this here, which is in the docs. When we want to post an article, I presume these are the required fields that need to be there. Now, when I go and I request an article from this same install, we see that we have significantly more fields. Actually, this is for all articles. This is the endpoint articles. So this is pulling out all the articles with all of their variables. So here is a single article. Now, we can see that there are way more parameters, or where there's way more variables that are available. So obviously we should be able to just pull this schema out, but this doesn't show all of the different field types. So we don't know how they have to be set up. So that's all we're pretty much going to be doing. So the way I'll do this is going to basically show you how to do it for yourself. So I'm going to use test information, but you'll be able to use your own information. So where I am setting up example fields just to see how it looks on the other end, you can use all of your custom fields that you already have created, then pull them out and then just reverse engineer and see what everything is. So you might be able to just skip to the end, or you can watch to see where there might be caveats, etc. So you won't have to go along wherever I get stuck. I'll try to cut it out so you only see what's relevant. So what we need to do first is we need to make groups so that we can, so when we make our fields, we can just go ahead and put them in there and not have to work backwards. All right, so the first thing I'll do is I'll just jump over to here, and I'm going to switch from fields to field groups. So since we're just building out, we're trying to get the schema situated, I am going to make one group. I'm going to name them all the same or very similar so I can see things easier. And I'm just going to name it schema, but I'm going to spell it differently. Schema 1, schema group 1, right? And then I'm going to save and close. Oops, I'm sorry. My bad. This is, I want to have this, you want to use all this information. Tests field group number 1. All right, so I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to save. Because this is a field group, we're not going to worry about the publishing and the options and such here. There's not much anyway for a group. We're just going to need to make it. All right, definitely the public for right now. And then this, we're going to leave the note again, and then just add notes. I'm sorry, just in case this shows up. Notes for. Okay. We're going to do save and close. Then we're just going to do 2 more. So I'll just make 2 more really fast. For instance, there may be a reason whereas we might want to update a field, like the class or field class or the placeholder, etc. Um, during with using the API, but as of right now, I don't see any use in our specific use case, because the article, the all of the custom fields will be attached to articles of a certain type or a certain category, and the settings for that field will already be put into play. So with that, we shouldn't need all of those things. But we definitely want to have fields that are required and are not required, so that the schema comes out, um, shows us that accordingly, right? And things like only using subform. Some of these things will matter, some of these will not. All right, so these are all of the 16 field types. So we're just going to make one of each. Not going to have to go through that with you for each and every one of them. Unless I see something that's relevant, then I'll come back and I'll keep that included. But for now, let me just go ahead and create all of the field types. Well, all of the field examples. And when doing that, I'm going to make sure that, of course, I continue the naming or the nomenclature that I've started, which is using schema. So this is going to be, for example, schema text field. This is schema text field. All right. So then I would set up right here. This is going to be the schema. So this is a name. So there can't have spaces and such. Now, normally, just like with articles and other areas other areas of Joomla, the label field is very similar to the alias field, and it's automatically generated based on the title that you created. Now, I'm already aware that what's in the name field, just like what's in the alias field, well, just what's in the name field is going to be the handle or the variable, the field name when it comes to using and passing the information along, so it knows which field to put information into. Um, which is the opposite of which when you're using like your fields inside of say text and you're using the brackets and it's just field 9 using the field code or the field ID. Instead, the name field I already know is the ID when it comes to using it in the schema. So you can leave those auto generated, or you can specifically name them so that you can find exactly what you're looking for on the other side. In my case, before I start building custom fields for a project, we're going to have all that figured out before we even touch Joomla. And this is actually going to help make that process even easier and better. For example, this is for a project. You'll see that, well, this is the back end. Let's go to the actual detail view. All right, so for what we do, like for instance, this involves restaurants or delivery, etc. And so we have our field label, which in Joomla will be the equivalent of the title, the field name, which is the name, but how we want it to be specifically. So, and I have it in snake case, so it's already going to be good to go, right? So, for example, we have. Like in Joomla, what Joomla would have done for department is it would have made field name department as well. But I know the reason why what this was for, so we named it something else more specific because department may also be used somewhere else. All right, so now I know what my field name is going to be. All right, and then if I want to have my descriptions are already here. So remember how I said I don't see the use case of using the API to create fields? Well, that's already now a lie because just with this form alone, or this spreadsheet that I've created, I can probably map out and then convert this into JSON and then create 100 fields like that. So there's an idea. If somebody else wants to do that and set that up, that'd be great. I'm probably going to set that up. But nonetheless, and then here, this column for this specific project, these were going to be relevant to being the categories. All right. And then over here, we have the field types in column Y. And then we have the access and the field group. And then the field ID, of course, is something I'm going to have to update manually because you don't get the field ID until after the field is created. But nonetheless, this is what I use before we start setting up actual fields inside of Joomla, right? So right here, over on this column, you'll see like this is kind of like to help figure out what information is going to be grouped when it's like probably going to be visible on the front end. And then this E column, these check marks really just let me know which ones are complete, like which ones we've already addressed and don't need any more updating on. All right, so that's where we are with that. I'm actually going to break this down. We're now at like 14 minutes. So I'm going to complete this field. And then on the next video, what I'll do is have all the fields created. And then we'll move on to the next steps. So let me just go ahead and wrap this one up. Whereas we got our schema text field, we're gonna let this one be automatically generated. So because I'm going to make sure that I make the title something that works. So we'll leave that something that can be consistent. And then schema text field. All right. And then description is going to be schema test field text. Uh, text custom field. I'm going to leave the one in here because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make another one. All right. We're going to make this one required. And we're not going to use subform because we're going to make another one that is going to be a subform. Since we have to make a subform, since we're going to have to make a subform field, it will probably be easy to just make a subform field that, at least just one subform field that has one of every single field option. All right, and then we'll see how that looks on the other end. So let me go ahead and finish that, and then we have the test text field 1 and maximum length of the characters. We'll say 100, and then default value. This is the default value text. All right, actually, I'm going to make this number 1,369. So now I'm going to be looking for the 1,369 because I don't know what the words maximum length characters even look like on the other side. It might say just maximum length. It might be something weird like max car, So I know when I find 1,369 in that JSON, I now know that wherever that is, that means maximum length. And then when it comes to the settings, the first one I'm going to leave as no settings. I'm actually going to make it to safe HTML. All right, that'll probably be easier to find rather than using settings from plugin, or no, probably might just say null or from something that's not as inherently familiar. So that looks like that might be all I need. Yeah, again, the options don't matter for now, at least. And field group, we'll make sure that is a part of schema group 1. And category, I'll probably need to make some categories. So I'm going to make sure before I'm done with the next one, I will make a schema. I'll make 3 schema categories as well. Or just make 1 schema category because I think it's all I'm going to need. Definitely not all. And then we should be good. Actually, we're going to leave all because we don't know what all looks like in the JSON for now. And then, yeah, okay. Thanks for your patience. On to the next one. Stay dope.